Welcome again to my channel, my listeners. It's your Jamaican soul teacher coming to you once more. Now, as always, when I start my videos, I like to acknowledge the beauty of life and give thanks to our universal intelligence, otherwise known as God, for the many blessings, for giving us another day to be present here on earth. It is always a pleasure, my listeners. And we have to be grateful. We have to, especially in this time of the COVID-19 crisis or this worldwide pandemic, we have to be able to go into ourselves, my listeners, find that connection within ourselves so that we can be thankful for life, be thankful for loved ones, and be thankful just to be alive, because there's no greater gift in this life than being alive and well and being healthy and strong. I pray that you are keeping safe and you are following the instructions of the government and the medical Ministry of Health in terms of how we should be taking care of ourselves, taking care of our families, taking care of our neighbors, and so on. So remember to wash your hands for at least 20 seconds. Practice social distancing, 6 feet or more. You know, all the instructions that are given to us. There are persons who are required to stay home. Schools are out. Persons or workers who are not a part of the essential services are required to stay home and work from home. So the instructions are out. Persons 65 years and over, the Prime Minister just announced yesterday, March 23rd, new measures to be implemented on the 25th of March in moving forward. It is expected that the virus will worsen, or the infections will worsen before it gets better. But my listeners, I'm coming to you today to let you know that this too shall pass. It's not the end, my listeners. This COVID-19 is an opportunity, my listeners. It is an opportunity for us to regroup. It's an opportunity for us to start over. And I'm just going to be sharing with you today, my listeners, 7 lessons that we can learn from this COVID-19 crisis or this COVID-19 pandemic. Because we are here on this earth, my listeners, to complete a journey. And my listeners, one of the main things you need to understand is that you will learn lessons, or you will be exposed to situations, or you will go through challenges, and the aim is for you to learn a lesson. The aim is not for you to be broken or to feel defeated or to become a victim. But the aim, my listeners, is for us to learn a lesson. Whatever the experience is, my listeners, the important thing is that we learn a lesson from it. And that is how we grow. That is how we develop. That is how we are molded into the being that we should be, or we ought to be, or that we came on earth to be, my listeners. So I'll go through 7 lessons that we should or we can learn from this COVID-19 outbreak. And the first lesson, my listeners, is it gives us a chance to start over, new beginnings. Now, if you notice, my listeners, it's like the world has stopped. I don't think in our time or in our lifetime we'll ever experience anything like this again, where the world has stopped. In my years here on earth, or you will hear older persons say that they have never seen anything like this, my listeners. I have never heard of a crisis, my listeners, where planes are grounded. and it's not a terrorist attack. And even if there's a terrorist attack, it's in a specific country. It does not affect the world where the planes are grounded, my listeners. Persons are not traveling. Ships are not traversing the sea. Hotels are closed down. Here in Jamaica, hotels are closed down. Schools are closed down. Work, persons are told to stay home. There's no gathering in public. Bars are closed down, my listeners. Churches are closed. We now have to depend on the internet for communication, to keep in touch, and so on. We have never experienced anything like this, my listeners, and we are not sure if we'll ever experience anything like this in our lifetime. So the first lesson, as I said, my listeners, it gives us a chance to stop, look, take stock, and start over. For persons who have been living a life that they were not happy with, it gives us a chance to just look at where we are now and plan how we're going to move forward in our lives, what decisions we need to make, or what we need to stand up for ourselves, my listeners. So that's one. A chance to start over, new beginnings, my listeners. It also gives us an opportunity to find our purpose, because you might be busy at work. Some of us we are going to a job, but it's not our purpose. So it gives an opportunity for us to find our purpose. So we have a quiet time now. We can, away from the hustle and bustle of life, because most things are shut down in the country, my listeners. So we can find our purpose and start over. Number 2, the second lesson that we learned from this COVID-19 crisis, my listeners, is that it shows us that we are more connected than we thought we were. And I spoke about this in the first video that I did about COVID-19 pandemic. Persons would think that, I'm my own individual, I'm my own person. Yes, I'm my own personality, but we are all connected, my listeners. We are connected through our collective consciousness, my listeners. So not because we are separate in terms of the form and the body. It doesn't mean that we are separate entities, because we are all connected. And if you see how the virus started in China. And look where Jamaica is located. Jamaica is so far away from China. And the virus was able to travel. It didn't travel by air, because this virus cannot travel by air. It found its way all over the world, my listeners. All over the world. So it shows that we are connected, my listeners. It shows that we have to interact. It shows that we, as human beings, we relate to each other. We connect with each other. So the second lesson that this virus shows us is that we are more connected than we thought. Now, the third lesson that we got from this virus, or this the COVID-19 outbreak, my listeners, is that the world has stopped. The world has stopped, my listeners. It has not stopped turning, but it has stopped in the sense that the economies are down, businesses are down, hotels are down, economic growth is down, my listeners. So it gives the powers that be, the governments, an opportunity to look at what they are doing, my listeners. Look at the industries that we operate in our countries. Look at the way we manage, look at the way we govern, to see how we can improve, how we can think outside the box. Because for one example, my listeners, is our education system. And I can only speak to my country, what is happening in my country. I can relate to stories abroad and so, but I can speak from the experience that I'm having in my country, where our education system has been shut down. Schools are shut down. Children are instructed to stay home. Now they have to be finding innovative ways to get the children their lessons. Children have exams, children have curriculums to be completed. So the schools or the education system here in Jamaica has to be now finding innovative ways to get the lessons out to the children. And the main medium is the internet, the World Wide Web. So it goes to show my listeners that we can look at innovative ways to do things and not be stuck to the old ways of having to be in a classroom and having to be present, or the teacher being there in the classroom, or the students being there. So this crisis, my listeners, has given us an opportunity to look at how we govern, look at how we do things, and teaches us to be innovative, to think outside the box. In Jamaica, we are an entertainment country. We have our reggae music, and for persons in the world, you know about our Bob Marley. Now, what some of the entertainers or the music selectors or the DJs, as persons would know, they are having sessions online, so people would tune in, and they would enjoy themselves. So social gathering is limited to 10 persons here in Jamaica. However, that has not stopped entertainment in some aspects. So we can find innovative ways, my listeners. So persons, once this virus goes, persons like me who is not really a social, I'm not a very sociable, and I don't go to parties that much. You know, there can be channels or websites that I can log on to, and a party is happening. I can have a glass of wine in my hand, and I'll dance if I want to. So it just goes to show my listeners that the COVID-19 crisis, even though it is very deadly in the sense that persons are losing their lives, we should see it as an opportunity, my listeners, for us to be innovative, be think outside the box, and look at how we govern countries, how we govern people's lives, look at even our personal lives, my listeners. So that's the third lesson from the COVID-19 crisis, that the world has stopped, and we can look at how we move on from there. Now, quickly, let's move into the fourth lesson from the COVID-19 crisis. It shows my listeners that we need to care more about each other. And the fact that the virus is invisible, my listeners. You can't look at it. You can't see it coming. You can't look at a person and say, oh, you have the virus. In Jamaica here, persons are afraid of persons sneezing or coughing. Once you hear someone sneeze or cough, it's like, the radars are up. People become defensive, No one can sneeze, no one can cough. And sneezing and coughing is a natural occurrence because, maybe it could be allergy. It could be a sinuses. Someone could have the common cold. But because the virus is spread in particles or droplets, persons are afraid, they are scared that, someone sneezes, then they are spreading the virus on them. So persons are afraid to sneeze or cough or anything like that, even though they are encouraged to practice good cough etiquette, meaning that you sneeze in a tissue, discard of the tissue immediately in a closed bin. Or if you're coughing and you don't have tissue, you cough in the bend of your hand so that there are no droplets that comes from your mouth or your nose that will infect anyone if you're infected with the virus. So lesson 4 shows us that the virus is invisible and that we must be careful that we don't spread it. It shows us that we are our brother's keeper. So we have to protect ourselves, and in protecting ourselves, we protect others. So we follow the instructions carefully, and we do our best to remain virus free so that the virus does not proliferate in the country or in the world, and that we'll be able to get over this crisis in a short fashion so that we can get back to normal, my listeners, because right now the economy is going down. We are losing we're losing money, and we have to be spending money, my listeners. So it's important that the fourth lesson, that we remember that we're our brother's keeper, and we have to be concerned about taking care of ourselves so that we don't spread the virus. The fifth lesson that we should take from the COVID-19 crisis, my listeners, is that we now have the opportunity to reconnect with who we left behind during our busy lives, my listeners. So when we are actively working and going to work and being busy about our lives, trying to make life, trying to make a living, trying to pay our bills, we tend to leave persons behind. We leave our friends behind. We leave our families behind. Oftentimes it's just the immediate persons in our lives that we have time for. But this virus, my listeners, gives us an opportunity to take stock, because everything is slowed down. Most things have come to a complete stop. So it gives us an opportunity to look, to open our minds, open our hearts, and realize that we were so busy with our lives. We were so busy with the business of our lives that we left so many behind, so many important people behind, my listeners. So we are able now to take stock, take up a phone and call a friend, call a family member that you haven't spoken to in so long. Check up on them, see how they are doing, So lesson 5, the current crisis, COVID-19 crisis or pandemic, it shows us that we need to reconnect with those that we left behind. Lesson number 6, my listeners, it requires, in the wake of this crisis or this pandemic, it requires that we stay positive, my listeners. We have to stay positive and eliminate fear. We have to eliminate fear, my listeners. And as I explained to you before, that we are connected, and that we and as I've said in previous videos, that we are energy. We are energy and matter. And so we connect through this energy, through the cosmic energy, the cosmic force. So we are connected, my listeners. So if it is that we are fearful, you can imagine a world of fear. That's the energy that you're putting out there in the universe. That's that collective fear, or that collective energy that we're putting out there in the universe. And we don't want to do that, my listeners. What we want to put out there, my listeners, is positivity. We want to put out positive energy in the universe, my listeners. This positive energy will help to increase the levels of vibration within the universe, my listeners. And when we send out this positivity in the universe, we are telling the universe that we need a cure. We want a cure. We want life to return, or we want to be better. We want things to be better. So let us connect, my listeners, through our collective consciousness in a positive way. Think positive, and we need to have positive thoughts. Envision a future rid, or a future without COVID-19 virus, my listeners. We have to envision it. We have to develop the thought in our head. We have to focus on that thought collectively. So let us get rid of fear. So the lesson 6 that we learned from the COVID pandemic, my listeners, is that we need to eliminate fear from our minds and be focused on positivity. Let us manifest the cure. Let us train our minds to think positive, to see a future rid of COVID-19. And my final lesson, my listeners, I hope so far, you can relate to what I'm saying. What my final point, and lesson 7 looks at taking back the power from social media. Now, as you would know and as you would understand, most persons live their lives on social media. Social media takes up from the moment some persons get up, the first thing they do is look for their phone to see if there is any messages or there are any emails on their phone. So that's the first thing they will do. For some persons who are in a relationship, you're sleeping beside your partner, you don't even say good morning, honey, or good morning, dear. The first thing you do is take up your phone. So you realize that the phone is the most important thing to you, because that's the first thing you take up your phone to check if anyone texts you, or anyone you missed a call, or you miss, there's any emails, or there's any Instagram posts, or there are any likes or dislikes or any comments. So lesson 77, my listeners, is that we need to take back the power from social media, take back our lives from social media. Because if you notice now, my listeners, if it is that with this shutdown that we are on, or this lockdown that we are on in our homes, we are locked down with our families. For those of us who live with families, we are locked down. We are not even allowed to visit, because a lot of persons are not taking any visitors in their home, because they have to be cautious that no one comes in with the virus. So we are locked down in our homes, and we have to be home with our families. A lot of us have not been even paying our families any mind, because we are always on social media, talking to friends, talking to persons, whether it be all over the world. So we didn't have any time. Now we are forced to be home with our families because of this COVID-19 crisis. Now, lesson 7 is telling us or teaching us to take back our lives, or take back the power from social media. My listeners, if it is that if the internet were to go down now, we would only be left with those persons that are in our presence. And for most persons, we have neglected these people for so long. We have not even acknowledged that they are there. We talk with them, we communicate, but we have not acknowledged. We don't make time for these people in our lives. So the final lesson for me for this video, my listeners, is to take back the power from social media and start giving the people in our lives the time, the attention that they need, my listeners, because nobody knew that this virus, or there would have been such an outbreak in the world. Or even if an outbreak occurred, you wouldn't think that it would spread so rapidly and so wide. So it just shows that the world is just a geographical space. It's just boundaries, but it's not that big anymore. You know, people traveling on planes, boats. So in no time, you're able to travel from one country to the next. So let us take back our lives from social media, my listeners. We might be relying on it now to communicate and to get across messages, to have meetings where work is concerned, or school where classes where school is concerned. However, we need to start acknowledging the people in our lives, my listeners, and giving them our attention. Yes, we use social media, but limit it. Limit the amount of time that we spend on social media. I want to thank you for staying with me, my listeners. You know, this virus is new. This experience is new for all of us, but we just need to take stock and use this opportunity to turn inward, because everything you need is inside, my listeners. The strength you need to be successful, the strength you need to come out a victor is inside, my listeners. Nothing is outside. Everything that we need is inside. And always remember, my listeners, that whatever we go through in life, there is a lesson in it. There is a lesson. So don't just look at this virus as, oh my God, we are doomed, or just doom and gloom. Look, my listeners, look at it and say, what is the lesson that we need to learn from this pandemic, or from this crisis? The world has shut down, my listeners. I don't think anything like this will ever happen in our lifetime again. I don't think we'll ever experience anything like this in our lifetime again, my listeners. It's a perfect opportunity for us to look at the situation and learn from it, whether it be individually or collectively, my listeners. We need to learn from this and see what has happened, and see how we can benefit from it. We can come out winners, my listeners. We can come out winners. And I must congratulate our Jamaican government again for the tremendous work that they are doing to keep us safe in Jamaica here. They have been proactive from the beginning, putting in measures to limit the spread of this disease. And I pray that my fellow Jamaicans will support the government, do what they need to do. If you travel from abroad, even though now today is Tuesday, March 24th, 2020. So the planes have been grounded, my listeners. However, for persons who have traveled and they have not passed the incubation stages as yet and they feel ill, please declare yourselves, my listeners. We have to form a solidarity against this virus. We have to come together to fight this virus. We have our vulnerable populations in the society, my listeners, persons with underlying illnesses, persons over the age of 60 and over, my listeners, persons, these are our vulnerable populations, people with immune issues, autoimmune issues, my listeners, weak immune systems. These are the vulnerable people, so we need to protect them. We have to be our brother's keepers. This virus or this pandemic calls on us to be humans again, my listeners, to be humanitarians, to look out for each other, to show compassion, to show love for each other, my listeners. So I am imploring you, my listeners, let us stand up against this virus. Let us stand up for our humanity. Let us stand up for our dignity, and let us fight this virus together. Let us fight it. Let us get rid of it. Let us slow the spread, my listeners, so that Jamaica and the world can return to functioning, to full functioning, so that our lives can get back on track. Thank you for staying with me once more, my listeners. And as always, I pray that we will find ourselves and whenever issues come about or challenges, let us find a lesson in it and let us become the person that we came here to be. This is Nadja Brown, your soul teacher, your motivational speaker, and I pray that all of us will get through this crisis in a healthy and holistic manner. God bless you.